whatnot. You will not see the executive producer of this radio show. Bel Kay chooses to remain headless on the television side of the broadcasts. His contribution to the TV side of things, well, he keeps it up and running, but we don't talk about that very much. But he also offers us a title on a daily basis. And today is episode 504. And today's title is?
Matt Murphy, tolerating a very pissy producer, hopefully.
Are you doing okay today?
Couldn't have started in a worse way.
It's funny. Why nowadays? Why is it on the easy listening station on monitor number 3? I don't understand. Are you on the easy listening station?
I'm
over
on
there?
Fox News.
I don't know who's doing this. I think it's Hand. This is Hand's way of. Thank you for changing that. I could have done that myself, but I think that's Chris Hand's way of saying I need to calm down. For 2 days in a row, I've come in and the television has been on the easy listening. It's like the music that the TV provides, the music channels down at the end of the aisle.
Yeah.
It's been on the easy listening station for 2 days in a row. I think
that's probably Dan.
You think it's Mandus?
Yeah, it's probably Mandus.
He's just trying to cool out during the breaks.
He likes him a little Christopher Cross.
And just, smell the jasmine. Think of the bubble bath. Candles in the background, some easy listening music. Serenity now!
I think I'll call an employee. Let somebody hear me swish.
Have you caught him? I've caught him.
Oh, God. Yeah, many times it's not even funny.
Doesn't he deny it?
Every time.
He denies it with me, too. I'm like, are you in the bathtub?
No.
No, I'm in the basement.
And you can hear like him.
He claims he's in his studio. So he's done this to me. Mandus, I hope you're listening. I'm going to out him. It's time to out these people. You're going to listen to my grievances. So our illustrious boss, I call him Boss Man Dandis. His real name is Dan Mandus. He is not only the incredible host of Nashville's Morning News, but he's also our boss around these parts. And he'll call you in the afternoons, and it's obvious that he's in the bathroom, in the bathtub. And I say, are you in the bathroom, in the bathtub? And he goes, no, I'm in my studio in my basement. Have you seen a picture of his studio in his basement?
Yeah.
Have you seen the amount of soundproofing he has in the studio in his basement?
Yeah,
there is
well done.
0.0000 chance that any of this sound is bouncing like it's bouncing in his bathtub. I can hear the dripping in the background.
You can hear the water splashing. He's like wetting his washcloth. And I literally asked him one time. I said, "I'll do anything you ever tell me to do. Just don't call me from the bathtub again."
I mean, you hear it all. You can if you listen very closely, you can hear the toaster running on the side of the tub. Oh, man. That's a Groundhog Day reference right there.
Yes, it is.
So it's Groundhog Day, and I'm incredibly lazy. I put up a post. I've been doing this for a number of years, and I don't know if we're doing it today or not. I don't think we are because I didn't set it up.
This really bums me out, too, because how long has it been a tradition for your show?
9 years.
And so it's been a tradition here for the last 2.
Yes.
And now you're breaking tradition.
I am. And it's because I'm a bum. I got a couple of things going on. I could make excuses. I'm not going to make excuses. It is a beloved or very, 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 very much hated annual tradition of the Matt Murphy Show that we have some fun with Groundhog Day. And I've not dotted my I's and crossed my T's to the point that we can do it in the way that we've normally done it. I'll maybe explain it later on. We'll have some flashes. Groundhog Day is one of my favorite movies. It's probably in my top, maybe not top 10, but top 20. I think it holds up. And if you've never seen it, today's your day because it's on some television network all day long. It was on my television when I left the house this morning. So one way or the other, if you make yourself available of it, let me know what you think, and you'll have some snatches of it throughout the course of the show today. We've lots to do today. I think we have Heidi Campbell coming on. I think Senator Heidi Campbell's coming at 12:30 this afternoon to talk about school choice. She said that she wanted to come in, so I believe that's still the case. She hit me up and asked if it was okay if she stopped by, and she said she had a few things to say about school choice in the state of Tennessee. I said, absolutely. I'm willing to talk to anyone at any time about anything. It's kind of what we do on my portion of the broadcast day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I'm anticipating that at 12:30. Friday cranks up at 105 this afternoon with our good friend, legal correspondent, life consultant, and gambling buddy, Jay St. Clair. He's here at 105 until, and he's answering all of your legal questions. Get them in and load them up, and I'll put them in a folder, and we'll pull them back out at 105, and we'll let you know what Jay has to say about it. Obviously, I was not here last week, so we will be talking with Jay St. Clair about what happened at the Supreme Court level regarding Texas, regarding the southern border. I've not heard Jay's take. I know that the redheaded stranger had him on when she was subbing in for me last week, and I know that he had many things to say about this subject. We will also ask Jay his thoughts about the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee, Jonathan Skrmetti, and the Skrmetti and Virginia lawsuit against the NCAA regarding NIL, name, image, and likeness when it comes to college athletics. That at 105 this afternoon. At 205 this afternoon, Johnny Garrett, Representative Johnny Garrett, I think I have this correct. I wouldn't want to mislabel him, but I believe Johnny is the House Majority Whip. The House Majority Whip. If you're not familiar with the leadership positions in government, you traditionally will have a Speaker of the House, then you will have a House Majority Leader, and then you will have a House Majority Whip. You can also have a Minority Leader and a Minority Whip. The Whip is kind of working in concert with the Majority Leader in an effort to vote count, to make sure that you have the votes, to make sure that membership understands legislation before them, and they have all of the information that they need to vote in the proper fashion. And the whip wants to make sure that they get the vote counts correct. I think I basically have that right. I hope that I have it right that Johnny Garrett is actually the whip, but I think that's correct too. So
and if you decide you're going to go off the reservation, he's the one who twists your arm.
Oh yeah. Johnny's the whip is traditionally the strong arm. They're the ones that, I'm not saying this about Johnny or William or anyone in Tennessee, but thinking nationally now, they're the guys or gals that go up and say, what the hell? We were in your office 2 hours ago. You told me you were a yay. Now you're a nay on this. What are you doing to me? They're kind of keeping people in line.
Don't make us pull you out back.
Yeah, during those vote sessions. So there is that happening at 2:05 this afternoon. Let me start. It's Friday. I'm feeling good. It's Groundhog Day. I feel good about that, despite the fact that I did not do my job. Twitter poll is up and running. If you want it back for next year with a full song, full-throated, then you can vote on my Twitter poll. Go over to @MattMurphyShow. That's @MattMurphyShow on the X machine and find the Twitter poll. It's down there somewhere. I tweet so much.
Why don't you
I post so much.
Pin it until the poll's over.
I should pin it. You're right. That's a good... Man, you know what you should do one of these days? You should find yourself a good radio show to produce.
That's in my Arnold Schwarzenegger picture.
Because and who says you don't listen to the show? That's good. Yes, I will. I'm pinning now. Pinned. No, I don't want to highlight it, you jerks. I want to pin it. If you know, you know. Oh, the X machine is telling me that I should follow Tim Cook. Yeah, I don't think so. He gets enough of my money. I don't think so. Oh, look. While we're over on the Twitter side of things, I did put this up. This is what you missed if you miss any of my social media. Did you see the dolly shot that I put up?
I did not.
It's a picture of the beautiful world princess that we know as Dolly Parton, finest human being walking the face of the earth. I defy you to challenge me on that or prove me wrong.
Okay, I see it now.
And it says, I will never question Dolly Parton, ever. But I kind of wish the song was 11-3 instead.
That's pretty good.
And I said, I kind of live this version of the song anyway. I'm on the people think that we just plop down here and do nothing but yap for a living for 3 hours and then go off and have, well, that's kind of what we do, actually. Now that I think about it, that's the basic, that's the premise of what we do. All right, so Darius Rucker, let me start here because it's a Friday. I'm amused at social media more than anything. And yesterday we walked through why I believe that social media has become a net negative in our society, certainly social media, and maybe even more broadly the internet. I don't know that it's even a controversial thing for me to say that social media is a negative and the world would be a better place if it was blown up. Now, I'm not saying that any group, any organization, any nation should have the ability necessarily to do that. I'm just telling you that that's what I believe. The world would be a better place if social media wasn't in it. Tell me how I'm wrong in that. Yeah, but Matt, it lets people connect with their friend groups from high school. Yeah, you've proven my point. I think now for me, it's more of a statement about the internet at large becoming a net negative. And we discussed this yesterday with regard to Facebook. I don't blame Facebook for being Facebook necessarily. I understand that you have certain expectations, and there ought to be certain rules of the road with regard to what you expect on. And I'm using Facebook as an example. I could use Instagram. I could use Snapchat. I've never been on Snapchat, but I could use that. I know the basics of the platform. I certainly could use the X machine as an example, or any number of other off-brand, Truth Social, Thread. Is Thread still around? Remember Threads for a hot minute? They wanted Threads to be the next Twitter machine, X machine. Didn't work out. I want to say Threads was a Facebook thing, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, all of these media organizations should have basic rules that I understand as I become a customer of theirs and their advertising base. At the same time, I don't go about telling businesses how to run their businesses. I just act as a consumer and decide whether or not to consume them or not. I would not allow my child inside of a bar. I don't understand why so many parents are allowing their children inside of bars. It's what you're doing when you allow your kid unfettered access to Instagram or to Facebook if they choose that route, and I know kids don't, or the X machine or the Snappy Chat or whatever it might be. If you're allowing your child access, it's like allowing your child to walk into a bar and telling your child not to drink. And nobody's carding. If you really want to solve this, then you should have a hard age floor on the internet, where you can't go on the internet if you're below a certain age. If it's that much of a problem, like we saw earlier in the week on Capitol Hill before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I know that it's easy to blame corporations, and I saw a bunch of conservatives, small government conservatives, demanding government step in and quote unquote, you really want government to regulate the internet? Well, hell, let's just, they've done such a great job of regulating everything else, haven't they?
Hey, they outlawed drugs and they went away.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're doing a great job on the southern border, right? They got nothing better to do. They're doing such a great job. Anytime the government attempts to regulate and control free markets, you get worse, not better. You know what a great example of this is? The telephone industry. The government clamped down on the telephone industry for decades. They would not allow, they made it impermissible for telephone companies to build telephones outside of the parameters prescribed by the government. You know, you could have that proverbial desk phone with the dial on it. I'm dialing your number, Bell.
Is this like Morse code or something?
You're old enough. You remember it.
No, I do. Yeah, absolutely, I do. It was that desk one or the one on the wall that was usually in the kitchen.
And then somehow they got the Princess phone. I don't know how they managed to get through the Princess phone. But once the telephone industry was deregulated, it led to cell phones. There is a direct path from deregulation to cell phones. My point is this, that regulation impedes growth, and the free market can handle a lot of this ourselves. Now, if you want to change certain rules of the road, by all means, change certain rules of the road. But the reason I bring up the interweb is that I went on the interweb last night to make jokes about Darius Rucker getting popped in Williamson County for what I believe to be weed. I don't know if it's weed or not. I don't know anything about this story, but I love the Karens and the Darrens. What are you giggling about?
It was blowfish poison.
Oh, the guy that got What an idiot.
No, it's just it's a stupid joke, but it's like, blowfish poison is used as a drug in certain parts of the world.
Yes.
And Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh well. Wow, I thought you were. Did you see the Blowfish story?
No.
The Pufferfish story?
No.
See, I thought you were putting those two together. I thought you were putting Hootie. We used to call, when I was in, right after my college years, if somebody farted, we would call that a Hootie. I didn't care for Hootie and the Blowfish. Oh, my God. Who let a Hootie? You'll use it. You'll love it. And I love Darius Rucker. Don't get me wrong. I've come around to his music. I like his country stuff, and I've come around to some of his other music. He seems like a nice guy. No, I thought you were referencing there's another story having nothing to do with the band The Blowfish, having everything to do. Pufferfish, a.k.a. Blowfish, some moron decided to cook and eat a pufferfish.
Did it kill him?
Yes. It absolutely killed him. That is a Darwin Award waiting to happen. That is culling the herd. And I'm thankful that we have those people in existence on planet Earth because, we need more resources. No, this guy, there is a way apparently to prepare pufferfish that you don't die. Yeah, but you have to know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, it's an art. I mean, Japanese chefs go. They
have to be licensed.
They have to go to school to learn how to prepare it.
Which I don't understand. There's literally more fish in the sea. I don't understand why you're so desperate to eat a fish that is 1,000 times more poisonous than cyanide. But apparently some people are. Well, this dude who apparently likes fish a lot, a buddy of his, I'm not making this up, a buddy of his gives him a pufferfish, tells him it's a pufferfish, and this guy decides to cook it and eat it with his friend. They do. He dies. The friend somehow survives.
Were these Chiefs fans?
I don't know. This guy's name was Jack Jory? I don't know. Oh, my Lord, I just thought of something. What if these Chiefs fans that died, and now McMorty's sick?
Oh, boy.
What if somebody's poisoning Chiefs fans?
Matt, call us and let us know you're okay.
Matt, call us and let us know you're all right. It's 12:23. Now I'm concerned. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. I am officially renaming First Amendment Freestyle Friday, which means that Bell K has to rebrand First Amendment Freestyle Friday. I'll tell you what that is in a moment, once I remember what I was going to rename it. It's 12:24 on Super Talk. Have you walked around your home and checked it out? I'm not talking about, the landscaping or whatnot, the amenities of the paint. I'm talking about the structural foundation of your home. I'm talking about the bones of your home. If you've not, I invite you to do that because it's important that we do this on a regular basis, not maybe every other day or whatnot, or every month even, but every 6 or 8 months, it's important that you go into the basements, that you at least look into the crawl spaces, and you make sure you're not seeing some of the signs of foundation issues, that you're not seeing some of the signs of waterproofing issues. Because to catch those early is to catch those inexpensively, and the experts at United Structural Systems understands this. They're the company that will give you peace of mind. They have over 25,000 satisfied customers. They're not there to upsell you, and they know you don't want to call them. You don't want to call them because it means you might have to spend some money on your home that you would prefer to spend on a vacation or a new car or whatever. Well, here's the deal, folks. It can be less expensive if you catch it early with United Structural Systems. What is it? We're talking about foundation repair. We're talking about utilizing United Structural Systems for waterproofing. Or if you have problems with your landscaping with regard to your walkways or your driveways, well, then they do the poly-level lift system as well. United Structural Systems wants to talk with you. USSTN.com, that's USSTN.com, or 615-488-7855 for United Structural Systems. Oh, rise and shine, campers, and you better grab your booties because it's cold out there today. Cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach? I can almost do it off the top of my head, but I cannot quite do it off the top of my head. Happy Groundhog Day. We would love to hear from you. Would love to talk with you at 615-737-9986. We'll have some fun with Groundhog Day. Fun facts about the movie Groundhog Day coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Also coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, Representative Johnny Garrett has a piece of legislation that is clearly designed to create a different level of punishment with regard to expulsion out of the House of Representatives. It's obviously targeted regarding what happened last session, and it's targeting an ability for the broader body to expel members and not have them immediately reappointed by their local counties or local districts. So we'll talk with Johnny about that in the 2 o'clock hour. Jay St. Clair, our legal correspondent, coming up at 1 o'clock. And coming up in about 5 minutes after we take this short break is Senator Heidi Campbell. She's in studio with us, and we've already off air started a good discussion, a good dialogue about school choice in the state of Tennessee, the pros, the cons, what it is not, and we will continue that discussion in a moment with Senator Campbell right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yeah, that National Weather Service is talking about that blizzard thing. Yeah, that blizzard thing. That blizzard thing. Well, here's the report. National Weather Service says there's a great big blizzard thing on the way. Anyway, it's Groundhog Day. Matt Murphy and you, 1235, in studio with us. We welcome back to the show Senator Heidi Campbell, who stops by to talk about the possibilities of school choice legislation coming before the General Assembly this session. We expect it will happen. What it will be, we don't really know yet, but we're here to talk about it. Hello, Senator. Hold on. Stand by. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Belle.
You got me?
It is the bane of my existence. Belle does it just to keep me on my toes. Yes, we have you. How are you?
Good to be here.
Good to have. I don't think you and I have spoken since you went through the mayor's race and did all that, and it's a new year now. So, all that go well for you?
Well, I learned a lot. I'm sorry we lost, but I also think Freddie's doing a great job. And, there's no better way to get to know your community than to run for mayor.
Well, it's true that. True that. I don't take any. It's Freddie might want to listen up to this because Heidi just said he's doing a good job, and Matt Murphy's about to say I don't know that I have any criticism with the way that he's doing it. And now there's some big decisions to come, transit decisions on the way. Some other decisions that are important to a lot of Nashvilleians and people that live in Davidson County. So we'll see.
Transit's huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And we'll see what he does with it. Right. Speaking of huge, I mean, obviously, education, big deal. You wanted to come on and talk about this, and I wanted to have you on to discuss it. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know the details of what will be in a bill soon to be dropped, I guess, in the House of Representatives and simultaneously in the Senate. I don't know how they're going to do it. Give me your overview of where you think we are in terms of education in the state of Tennessee.
Well, let me just correct that it has been dropped. And so the bill has been filed. So we do have the bill.
We don't have any of the language.
Right. It's going to be made in rulemaking subsequent to it. And by the way, it'll probably pass or be voted on and likely pass before we know what it's going to do to
it. Nancy Pelosi taught us that. You got to pass the bill, see what's in it.
But yeah, it's, this is very alarming. And the reason I wanted to come here and talk about it, I've got a bill to repeal it coming up, is because this is a scam. And I think Tennesseans need to know that. And the reason we need to know that is because this is going to blow an $800 million hole in our budget from the downbeat. And then taxpayers are going to be on the hook in perpetuity. And it's just going to get worse. And we know that that's what's happening because we're watching that happen right now in Arizona. And the same people who pushed the voucher program in Arizona and in New Hampshire and in all of these other states that have adopted it are pushing it here.
Mm-hmm. And how is it, when you say it's a scam, what do you mean by that?
So, for a long time, people have been wanting to get out of the business of paying for public schools on taxpayer dollars. And that seemed to be something that nobody was ever able to make happen because, quite frankly, Americans really want public school. This is a workaround that also is profitable to a handful of people. Functionally, it's privatizing public education. That's really what you're doing. And we know this because we know that I've got a chart here in front of me. 80% of the kids in Arizona who took these vouchers never went to a public school. So what you're doing when you give a kid $7,000 to go to a private school is you're subsidizing private family schools that are already people who are already sending their kids to private schools or homeschools. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That ends up being a net loss for taxpayers because you have to continue to fund public education. And then on top of that, you're going to have to find the money to be able to subsidize these private school education.
When you say that it creates there's a lot to unpack with what you're saying. And just for the interest of our listening audience, I want Heidi to be able to present her side of things. And I'm not here to shout you down or to argue. I just want to hear your side of this. But you say that there will be an $800 million hole in the budget. How?
It's going to cost us $800 million when you look at the amount that we are going to be paying for the private school kids that are going to adopt this option. I mean, if you send your kids to a private school right now, you can get this $7,000 to subsidize the tuition that you're paying.
Right. I'm just trying to do this math. And I'm not I'm not trying to pick nits here, but that's 114,285 students getting a $7,000 scholarship.
That's right. That's right. And let me just tell you.
I mean, are you just making these numbers up?
No.
These numbers are ridiculous.
No, those numbers are not ridiculous.
Where are you getting the $800 million figure from?
Because we know that in Arizona.
We're not talking about Arizona. We're talking about Tennessee.
No, I know, but we have a model where we can actually look at what happens when we do this.
Because the architects of the legislation, which you have not seen, which I have not seen, say that no money, they're not going to take any money outside of the system except for those kids who are no longer going to public, because the money follows the child, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Do you not think the money should follow the child?
If we were actually talking about choice and we were actually going to fully fund public education, I think that that's a defensible position.
Wait a minute, you say fully fund education.
We don't fully fund public education
what is,
now.
Define that.
Well, we have...
How much is enough?
By some projections, there are people who say that, we need an extra $2 billion to put into education to fully fund our school counselors, our RTI instructors, actually pay teachers a living wage, deal with the program deficiencies that schools have.
What's the education budget now?
The education budget now is we get over $1 billion from.
I mean, roughly
from the federal government, and it's 4.5, I think.
So you're saying you need $2 more billion to fully fund it.
Yeah.
And then you can guarantee that the grades are going to go up. You can guarantee that the students are going to perform.
Well, I can't guarantee that, but boy, we sure see that in states that do fully fund education that they have much better outcomes.
Like
yes.
what? Like which
Massachusetts.
State? So you believe that we should take
like
on
Minnesota.
a Massachusetts model for funding education?
We are so far.
I'm just asking.
I mean, but let me just tell you, this is like asking me if I think I should have filet mignon when we're actually running out of food. I mean, seriously, right now I'm looking at staving off the damage that we're about to incur by adopting this program. Yes, that would be wonderful. But we are so far from that. Let me just say, right now, the emergency is, and every single taxpayer in Tennessee needs to understand this, that we are going to be on the hook for subsidizing this program, and the guys who are doing it are going to be long gone.
Wait, so I want to back up, because I understand that you want to focus on models from other states that you believe that they're about to pattern the Tennessee model on, which we don't see the language yet, but Tennessee has an education problem, a public education problem?
Absolutely,
okay.
by anybody's assessment.
And do you believe that giving parents more opportunity to involve themselves in public education, even to the point that they have a better ability to make a decision about getting their kids out of a failing system or an underperforming school and making decisions about what's better for their children, do you believe that parents having that ability is a good thing?
Absolutely.
Right. So what about this isn't giving parents more opportunity without being encumbered by a monetary or financial inability?
All you have to do is do the math. I mean, first of all, $7,000 for a lot of people will not get them into a private school because the transportation hurdles, the tuition may be more than $7,000.
Okay, so it won't solve it for everybody, but what about the people that it will solve it for? What about the people that I talk to every day that say that $7,000 will go a long way to bridge the gap for them and give that parent more opportunity to choose?
And are these public school parents you're talking to?
Yeah.
Well, 80% of them in Arizona didn't do it. 89% in New Hampshire didn't do it. 75% in Wisconsin didn't do it. Let me finish.
Wait a minute.
70% in Florida.
You're just dismissing those parents that do? They don't matter? They don't count?
No, I'm not saying they don't matter and they don't count.
Not everybody has an ability to take their kids into a private educational setting like some in this room, right?
But you're saying that you would...
You send your kids to private school, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And you have the ability to send your kids to private school.
And yet I still support public schools.
I understand that you do. Just because, wait, do you have this perception that people that send their kids to private school don't support public education?
I think that that's the implication when people are asking me how I can stand up for public schools.
I'm still paying my taxes.
Right. No, I mean, I pay for that myself.
Where would your kids go to school if you did not send them to private school?
Well, we have wonderful magnet schools here. There are some good public schools.
Where are you zoned to go to public school?
Hillsborough.
Why don't you send your kids there?
I think Hillsborough is actually a pretty good school.
Why don't you send your
My
kids?
kids started in a school when they were in kindergarten, and that's their community, and that's where they feel comfortable. But this isn't about me.
Yes, it is.
No, it is not.
No, it absolutely is about you. You want the rule. You want the rule. You want your system and what you have in place not to be made available to people who don't have the means to afford it.
I absolutely 100% would support that. Wait,
why
please.
are you not sending your kids to Hillsborough?
If that is what it was about, I would support it 100%. But let me just tell you, this is not about choice.
Why did you make the choice to send your kids to private school?
I just told you, my kids started out in private school.
Why did you make that choice then?
I was coming back from Minnesota, and I wanted them to go to the school that I went to when I was a kid. It was a cultural thing, the same way that you want somebody to go to a church that you go to.
And so it's fair to say that you wanted to provide the best educational opportunity for your children.
I think everybody wants to provide the best educational
So
opportunity.
you felt
for
the
their child.
private education opportunity that you had in front of you was superior to the public education opportunity that you had in your district that you lived?
Not necessarily. I think you have some kids actually do better in other environments. It depends on the child. But
you had the ability to make that choice because you had the financial means to do so.
Actually, that's a little more complicated, but that's not necessarily true.
I just want to know why you and other Democrats in the General Assembly want to deny individuals that do not have the same financial means that you had to make that choice for themselves so that they can find the best educational opportunity for their children. We're not necessarily damning these public education opportunities. What we're saying is that some parents see an opportunity for their kids in the private sector that they can't afford, and this would make it more affordable for them.
And I am so glad that you're asking me that question, because that is not true. I absolutely 100% want every family to have the opportunity to make choices for where their children can go to school. This program is not going to provide that. That is what I am telling you.
But
I think
we're putting the cart a little bit before the horse, in as much as you can't tell me a single piece of language in the bill because you haven't seen it.
All you have to do is do the math. You realize that it's actually financially impossible to take this program on and continue to fund our schools so that people who are in areas where they can't even access these schools will have an education at all.
So the architects of the bill say that they're sourcing the money they're not taking the money from education sources. Outside of money following the kid. If you don't believe that the money should stay in the school system if kids leave the school system, right? So in other words, if 1,000 kids go to a school and 100 kids stop going to that school, should that school be funded at the level that it was previous to those 100 kids leaving?
Well, no, it won't be. It doesn't matter. Of course it won't be.
But that's the way that it works.
Right. And
is that the money you're talking about schools are going to lose?
That school will have to shut down. You understand?
Or get better.
That's not the way it works. I mean,
what
seriously.
do you mean that's not the way? Competition works. Free market works.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think of what's happened in states where they have implemented this? What do you think of what's happened with the 1,400% increase?
I live in the state of Tennessee.
No, but I'm asking you because, do you not think it's reasonable to look when you're making intelligent decisions about what you're going to do?
I have not studied what they're doing in Arizona.
Okay, so I'm telling you, they had a 1,400% increase in their public education costs.
I'm asking
Who's
you broadly.
Paying for that? Taxpayers. Inevitably, this is a government entitlement.
I'm asking you broadly.
It's a government entitlement. And
it's government entitlement for the taxpayers?
And you, of all people, I think, are opposed to government entitlements.
Right. I'm in favor of parents having the ability, like you have done, Heidi Campbell, in making the best educational choices for their children. And I do not want them to be encumbered by economic burdens that prevent them from doing so. And you do want to prevent them from doing so.
Incorrect. I do not want to prevent them from doing so, and I won't let you say that to me. I absolutely want them to have choice, because this will not provide that choice.
How will it not provide that choice?
It is a scam. This is a scam. This voucher
Who is
scam
perpetuating the scam?
is being,
Governor Lee?
No, it's being subsidized by Americans for Prosperity and the Alliance for Family Education or whatever the name of that company is that group is that Corey DeAngelis belongs to.
Are the Republicans are they being taken in by it? They're being suckered by it?
Well,
are they a part of the scam, I'm asking you?
I think there's a whole spectrum of awareness, but, I think a lot of people do not realize that. But all you have to do is look at what's happened in other states to know that you're going to be putting Tennesseans in a position where they are on the hook for getting their taxes raised so that we can subsidize public education, because this does not work.
Have you affiliated yourself with any organization or group that is opposed to this, or is it just you talking as a senator?
I'm not affiliated with any groups at all, except for just me.
So you're not, you don't. I'm just asking. I don't know the answer to this, but I'm just you're coming off very much as a spokesperson for some affiliated organization that's standing against this group. I don't know if that's the case or not.
That's absolutely 100% not the case.
Okay, I'm clearing the air. I want to make sure that folks are aware of this.
I'm here speaking for
so
myself.
you believe in private education?
Sure. Yeah, I believe in public education. I believe in private education. I believe in, academics in general.
And you believe that the public education system is failing parents enough that private education should be an option available for them?
If we are fully funding public education so that actually people can take advantage of public education, then fine. But this is a have and have not situation.
So I have to spend my taxpayer dollars to fully fund the public system. And in addition to that, your expectation is if my system, the system that I pay for as a taxpayer, fails my children to the point that I need to get them out of that system and put them in another system, you believe that I should have to pay again on top of the money that I'm already sending to the public education system as a taxpayer, that I should pay again to send them to a school to get my children an adequate education.
Boy, that's some acrobatics, because no, I just think you should fully fund public education.
Then why aren't you sending your kids to Hillsborough?
I just told you, this will not fix the public education problem.
Why are you sending your kids to Hillsborough? Why aren't you sending your kids to that school?
I told you because my kids started in kindergarten at a school.
Why did you make the decision then?
Because my kids started in a school in kindergarten that I had gone to. I went to it when I was a kid.
You never considered putting them in the public system?
I did, actually. My daughter applied for Hume-Fog and we didn't get in. She didn't lottery.
No, I'm talking about the system that you're zoned for. Do you believe that's a good school system?
Yeah, I do, actually. I do think it's a good school system.
But not good enough for your kids?
No, I don't think it's not good enough for my kids. Like I said, I sent them to a school I went to.
I asked the question
That's
14
okay.
times. It's fine.
Keep personally attacking me. That's
fine.
I'm
not personally attacking
but
you.
You are.
Your actions demonstrate that you're acting in a hypocritical fashion. You say that this is not about money, yet you're willing to spend the money above and beyond your taxpayer dollars to send your kids to private school.
So, Matt, to say...
And your only response as to why you're doing that is to tell me that your kids go to private school because you wanted to send them to the same school you went to?
Yeah.
Have you ever attended public education?
Yeah.
Where?
I went to Hume-Fog.
Okay, so have you ever attended a zone school for public education, not a magnet school? Have you ever attended a school that you were zoned for in public education?
Hume-Fog's a public school.
Is it a magnet school?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to apply to get in.
No, you don't have to apply, but you lottery.
I think you know exactly what I'm saying. You've never attended a public school that you were zoned for.
Are you implying that my opinion as a state legislator on an issue is invalid because of a personal decision that I made?
I'm not implying. I'm saying that I'm saying that you're a hypocrite.
Okay. Well,
you're a hypocrite because you attended private school all of your education. You claim that you sent your kids to private school, yet you refuse to give parents the financial ability to do the same thing that you had the financial ability to do, and you claim that you're defending those parents. That is a hypocritical position.
Okay, I pay for public school and private school both. That's a decision that I make. And so let me just tell you something. If this was about choice, I would be all for it. And as I have told you, that is not.
Yeah, but you don't know what it's about because you've never read the bill. But you've already presented a repeal of a bill that you've never read.
I do know what this is about.
You've never read it. It's not the language of the bill has yet to be presented, Heidi. Let's not lie about things that I know aren't true. You've never read this bill.
I am not.
You can look at me angry all you want. You're lying to the people when you say that you know what's in this bill.
I am not lying. I know exactly what's in this bill because we've seen it happen in 3 other states, and the same exact organization is here pushing it.
Heidi,
so we know. We know.
It is not my purpose to upset you. It's my purpose to tell the audience the truth. You have not read the bill that will be presented before the Senate or before the House of Representatives. I know you haven't read it. You know you haven't read it.
I have actually read it. It's been filed, and I've read it.
You've read the bill that's going to be presented in the House of Representatives?
I have absolutely read it. You can go online right now and look at it.
That is not you know very well that's not the bill that's going to be filed. I mean, what do you think? What do you think we're doing here? You know that they're going to present a bill next week, don't you? I do. Why don't you know that?
I do know that.
Then you know what you just said is a lie. That you've not read the bill if they're presenting it next week, Heidi.
So, Matt, I'm not going to be called a liar.
Oh, right. Well, that's fine.
I'm sorry. I'm not a liar.
Well, then you can leave. Goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll see you. Take care. I mean, if you're not going to be called a liar, I don't want to insult you. That's Senator Heidi Campbell for the last time on the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, Efficient Heating and Cooling. I'm telling you what, Jeff Eddy knows his business, and he knows this time of year you're popping on. I mean, you might pop on the AC this afternoon. It's getting up into the 60-degree range, and then it's back to the cool, it's back to the cold weather, and it's back to the heater being on. Well, all of that work back and forth in the system, it causes great issues with your heating and your cooling system, especially if you got one of those heat pumps. Jeff Eddy wants to talk with you about all of that at Efficient Heating and Cooling. Efficient Heating and Cooling simply is the best when it comes to making sure that your system is running the right way. And frankly, a lot of people, they defer to getting you a new unit. They defer to deciding that maybe you need something new, and perhaps that you lose a year or two of the life of your unit. And if that's the case, then maybe it's time to call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling and let them give you a second opinion, or better yet, a first opinion. Make the call that so many others have made to Efficient Heating and Cooling. Friends, that telephone number is 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for the world-famous Clock Store. I'm here to tell you, when we talk about things that are going down in this community, when we talk about things that are happening at the Clock Store, our listening audience responds. And I am pleased to tell you, well, I'm sad to tell you if you wanted to sign up late, but I'm pleased to tell you the Sentinel training class for tomorrow has completely sold out. There was limited seating because it's such an intensive class to begin with. But never you fear, there is a new class coming in March. And yes, believe it or not, you can sign up right now at the world-famous Clock Store's website at shoot270.com. That's shoot270.com. The Glock Store has an incredible retail side. They've got accessories, they've got clothing, they've got ammo, they have guns, of course, and then they have the Shoot 270 side of things, which is so very important, and they recognize that. It is important that you own a gun for your Second Amendment rights for personal and family defense. It is also important that you understand how to use it, and that's what it's all about at Shoot 270. Go to shoot270.com to find out how you can get involved in the next Sentinel class or any of the other wonderful regular classes that they have. They've got women's only classes. I think it's women's only Wednesdays that I'm thinking about. They've got other classes available for you as well. So thank you to the listening audience for selling out the Sentinel training class for tomorrow. And never you fear, there's another one coming up in March. It is the world-famous Clock Store, Air Lane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the Clock Store. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN 107, and a good afternoon to you. Glad you are with us. Hour number 2 starts right now on the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day. This Friday, February the 2nd, it's Groundhog Day. It's episode 504 of our proceedings. For those who caught our conversation, we've got Jay St. Clair coming up in just a couple of minutes. We'll get to him momentarily. Johnny Garrett in the 2 o'clock hour. For those who caught a portion of our broadcast with Heidi Campbell, Heidi has been on the show in the past. I like Heidi personally. It's not personal for me, but it ended badly. Our conversation ended badly because I believe that Heidi is acting like a hypocrite. I think she's being a hypocrite. And I told her so. And I also think she's lying to the people of the state of Tennessee when she suggests that she knows what is in the legislation that is set to drop next week. And she's hiding behind, other states that have passed similar type laws or whatnot. It is my understanding, and Heidi ought to know this as well, I think she does, that this bill will look nothing like those other bills. There will be means testing. There will be a cap of $20,000, which will cap the cost at $140 million, not $800 million, like she said. One way or the other, I understand that my having to do that made some of you uncomfortable. Some of my regular listeners are reaching out and saying, Matt, you were out of bounds. It made me very uncomfortable, and I like your show. Kathy, I appreciate that. I respect that. I understand it. At the same time, I believe that these politicians, when necessary and when appropriate, need to be called to the carpet. Heidi Campbell went to private school all of her life. I know that. Heidi Campbell has sent her children to private school all of their lives. Hillsborough is not a good school system. And she knows that, but she won't say that, because to say that is to lead me to the next question, and that is, she knows why she's sending her kids to private school as opposed to public. And only she can tell you why that is. But I know very well why she doesn't want to give others the opportunity to do the same thing. And that is, to do so would to loosen the government's control over the education of our children, and to infuse competition within the system to the point that public education has to perform better than it's currently performing. And we all agree that, do we not? Heidi says she's in favor of choice, and she believes that this is a scam. We'll find out together when the details of this situation are released. Now, my fear is that we are allowing the government to encroach and create rules and dynamics by which the private system and the homeschool system now have to abide. However, It's my understanding. I don't know. I haven't seen the language. I don't want to be accused of hypocrisy either. My understanding that there will be language that prevents the public system from overlaying rules, regulations, and whatnot beyond a basic floor that you have to meet in order to be eligible for the scholarship itself. It is insane to me that the primary spokesperson against this legislation has never stepped foot in public school. And she hasn't. How in the world can you suggest that you can make an assessment about what parents are going through in these inner city public school systems when you've... Look, I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion on it, and I'm not going to be that guy. You can have an opinion on it, but you have to recognize the gap in your information. I have an opinion about the Civil War, but I'm not going to pretend that I fought in the battles. Similarly, Heidi is well entitled to her opinion about public education versus private education. She says she's for school choice. Obviously, she's for school choice. Her parents chose to send her to private school all of her life. She has chosen to send her kids to private school all of their lives. I want to give more parents a choice to do the same thing without being burdened by a financial responsibility that they cannot meet. And that's what this is all about. So I know it was uncomfortable. That's all good. I don't know. I'm kind of, Belle, you tell me. It's Friday. It's 12 after the hour. I'm looking at line 2 there. I'm kind of in a yelling mood. Let's start screaming and yelling at Jay St. Clair, why don't we? I'm going to yell at Jay for not talking to me last Friday. I was busy in an investment seminar.
You were gambling without him is what you were doing.
Well, I mean, you know what? If anybody's going to yell at anybody, it's going to be Jay yelling at me for not inviting him to my investment seminar last week.
He should. Yell at him, Jay.
Hello, Jay St. Clair. How are you?
Hey, buddy. You know, if I were any better, we would be at Billy Bob Thornton's or whatever that place over the wall. And you're sitting there telling that lady, well, call it up.
Call it up. Let's go. Yes, it was Billy Bob's Frontier World or whatever it was. I like to, as that story goes on in my life, by the time I'm on my deathbed, we will have singularly closed that place down. We will have been responsible. Call it up. Jay, how's it going? I hadn't talked to you in a month of Sundays, it feels like.
You know, if I was any better, it would be April 6th, and I would be racing at Daytona International Speedway.
You know, a lot of people are invested now in your track career, the things that you're doing on the track, and you're past on the ovals, and now you're on the road courses, and folks want to know more about this. So tell us what you're talking about in April. What are you doing?
It's a 14-hour endurance race at the Daytona International Speedway, man. It's a sport that started in earnest really about 10 years ago. I'd call it low-budget endurance road racing. And so they're endurance races. Most of them are eight hours on Saturday, 8 hours on Sunday. This one is 14 hours. The green flag will drop at 8 o'clock in the morning at the Daytona International Speedway. And the checkered flag will come out at 10 p.m. And we have 4 drivers to a team. Each driver goes for 2 hours. And it's going to be 2 teams, 2 cars, and the Mazda Miatas. And it's just going to be a blast. Absolute blast. There'll probably be 100 cars. There'll be 100 cars on the racetrack at one time, man.
Will they all be Miatas? Is it?
No, those 4 different classes. They're classified mostly by weight to power ratios. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, there could be Corvettes and cars like that, but we would not be competing against them. We'd be competing against cars with similar power to weight ratios as ours.
Well, I happen to know, and I'll let everyone else in on this, I happen to know that you, and by extension, whether they know it or not, your team, you're already working at a deficit, because I know some of the people that are planning on being on your pit crew. Whew.
Well, Jerry, no, it's not. Jerry's not going to be.
was talking about me. I was talking about me.
I knew exactly who you were talking about. No, this is not Jerry.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I'm going to tell a 30-second story that I hope people understand. But the guy that Jay just mentioned, we were sitting out and we were looking at his car, and he was about to put this car on the racetrack. He was going to put this car on the track in an endurance race at Barber Motorsports. And I just met him. And Jerry's telling me all about it, and he's all excited about it, and he's just as proud as a peacock, and he's just like a proud papa. And while he will not be quiet about this car, somebody else walks up and says, Jerry, is that bolt supposed to be out? He was about to go out for an 8-hour endurance race, and there's just some bolt hanging out of the engine.
Listen, I've seen him go out without the hood pin. I mean, the first time he turned the corner, the hood flew off.
And if I'd have known him any better, and I didn't know him at the time, and Jerry's a great guy, we're picking on him, but I would have said, Jerry, I think you need to do a little less talking and a little more wrench turning. I mean... Jay, I did not get your take. Last week, the redheaded stranger was in my spot, and it's my understanding that she got the take on what's happening in Texas and whether or not Greg Abbott has a little bit of wiggle room as governor here, and what exactly the Supreme. Because I think without talking to you about this, and this might be dangerous because you might pour cold water on my theory, but I think people are misrepresenting a little bit what the court said here because the ultimate decision has yet to be made, right?
No, that's exactly right. Here's what's going on. I have this great analogy for it. But let me tell you what's going on, then I'm going to give you the analogy. So the feds are not stopping people from crossing the border illegally in Texas. They just aren't doing it. So the governor said, we've had it. We're going to put up a razor wire fence of the Rio Grande at the border. And so that's what they did. And it's down around Eagle Pass. There's about a 29-mile stretch there, Matt, in between some legal checkpoints. It's very remote. And there's hundreds of thousands of people crossing. So they put up razor wire. So then come the feds and start cutting holes in the razor wire land to let the sole reason was to let the illegals come on through. Well, Texas, to their great credit, they sued the federal government. Not under some fancy legal theory, constitutional whatnot. They're saying you're destroying our property. Quit that. It would be like if Mrs. Beasley's run away all of the squirrels and ground squirrels and chipmunks and whatever critters you got in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And so you say, well, honey, I'm going to find you a place to hunt. So you go over to your neighbor's fence and cut a hole in the fence. And say, Miss Beasley, there you go. Go hunt in that guy's yard. Well, you can't do that. And so your neighbor would sue you for tearing up his fence. Well, that's what Texas is doing, is suing the federal government for cutting holes in the fence. And it's going to, you know how it goes. Lawsuits goes on for years or more. And so they file a motion and say, and pending the outcome of this trial, we want them to quit cutting up our fence. And the court, the lower court, actually this court said, no, this said, okay, yeah, federal government, while this lawsuit's going on, you quit doing that. Quit cutting up their fence. And that's when they went to the Supreme Court, and the issue there is just what we're going to do until this lawsuit gets decided. And the Supreme Court said, well, all right, I'll tell you what. You're claiming it's your fence, or the fence is on, wrong side of the property line, or whatever. So we'll let you cut the fence while the lawsuit is pending. But what they didn't say is that Texas can't put up
more fence.
Exactly. And so the order doesn't go to Texas, really. It goes to the federal government.
Well, and initially,
here's where we are right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Texas puts up razor wire. The feds come along behind and cut a hole in it. Well, Texas comes right along behind them and patches it.
Well, and initially, I think the media caught themselves. For about 2 days after this 5-4 decision on the stay, the media was like, well, when's Texas going to start taking down this razor wire? When are they going to start taking this stuff down? And I thought, no, that's not what they told them at all. And like you just said, that Texas is under no obligation to take any of this down, right?
Hey, man, I figured out a long time ago, don't get your news from a newspaper. They don't know what they're talking about. No, the Supreme Court doesn't say anything about Texas's right to put a fence up around their property. The only issue is right now, can the feds cut holes in it? Because they're saying, well, it really isn't on their property. Now it's kind of become a little property line dispute. But no one has said Texas can't put up the wire. So it's kind of, you're too young to remember this. There used to be a great magazine, a funny magazine, and in it was characters Spy versus Spy.
Jay. Mad Magazine.
Mad. Come on, Jay.
Spy versus Spy.
Alfred, is it Alfred P?
Alfred
Newman,
E.
yeah.
Alfred E. Newman. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And Spy versus Spy, right? And so one of them puts a bomb under the other one, then he puts a bomb under it, and it's just very hilarious. So it's like the Keystone Cops, right? I mean, you can imagine Texas is down there stretching the razor wire, and then these feds are coming along behind it and cutting it, and then right behind them, they're coming along and patching it. And it's become such a PR nightmare for the feds, man, that they finally said, hey, you know what? We're going to quit cutting your fence.
All right. So let's get into the hairier conversation, I think, about whether or not this will hold up in the federal courts at the Supreme Court level altogether. Because Jay has taught me a few things about the federal government and their role and the executive branch and their role versus Congress. We'll talk to Jay about that in just a moment. Plus, your questions, we've got him for at least another segment. Your questions coming up on the super text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. And before we let Jay go, I mean, Jay graduated from the University of Tennessee before he went to Yale. So I want to ask him about this lawsuit that the AG of the state of Tennessee, Jonathan Skrmetti, has filed along with the state of Virginia with regard to NIL, name, image, likeness, and the NCAA. We'll ask him about that coming up as well. It's 123 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. If you're feeling sluggish, run down, low down, if you don't have the energy you used to have, and if you're a male, then I want to talk to you for a minute. Because the Tennessee Men's Clinic might have something that you need, and it takes a telephone call and a scheduled appointment to find out. Because, men, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, or drive, if you feel sluggish or run down, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it, if your libido isn't what it used to be, guys, it is something that affects half the men in America as we mature. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's certainly nothing to put off because you can put it behind you with a quick visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For over a decade now, their urologists and providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic have done this all day, every day. They've seen it, they've done it, they know it, backwards and forwards. They were the originators of men's-only therapy in Middle Tennessee, and now they want to help you. So if your energy level isn't where it should be, if you just feel like you've gotten to that time in life where there's certain things you can't do, put that aside and go to the Tennessee Men's Clinic today. You'll be happy you did. Schedule that appointment at 615-208-9090, 208-9090, or online, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Hey, rise and shine, campers, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today. It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach? Well, not hardly, but according to the National Weather Service, we've got that blizzard thing. Yeah, that blizzard thing. Well, it is. Do I know? Here's the report. National Weather Service says it's going to be a blizzard thing. Woodchuck Chuckers, it's Groundhog Day. 127 Super Talk 90. It's kind of loses something without the other participation. 127 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Our good friend Jay St. Clair is with us talking about this ruling by the Supreme Court, a stay by the Supreme Court, and the state of Texas at loggerheads with the federal government and other states joining the state of Texas in support. Kind of like a version of an amicus brief, I would guess. Jay, where does this go? Now, you've taught me the latitude that the judicial branch on the federal level is willing to give the executive branch as to how they exercise their duties. You've taught me that. And you've taught me that, Matt, the tie's going to go to the president if he says, look, we're doing all we can. We're trying the best we can, and it's our job to do this to begin with. With that in mind, what's your take on where this might go?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that, but first, can I ask Bill a question?
Sure.
Yep.
Well, get me the phone number of that woman from Genesis Diamonds.
Yeah.
Dang. She ain't going around here.
I'll take care of you, buddy. I got your back.
Sir. Here's where I think this thing's going to go, man.
Jay, wait a minute. Do you think she has an accent?
I don't. What do you think I do?
Well, I was about to say, because I bet you if she met you, she'd think you have an accent. Anyway, my bad.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I think this, it's a very clever lawsuit, Matt. They're not really, they're just saying, quit tearing our stuff up. We understand you're the feds, you got the right to do stuff, but don't come up in here and tear down my fence. That's pretty clever. And so far, the only real legal argument the feds have made is, well, it's on our property. And so the Texans said, well, show me the deed. And they said, well, we'll get back to you. That's exactly where it stands right now, man. So I got to be honest with you. If the feds can't prove that this stuff's not on their property, I like their chances better than the feds. It's not like they're going to the legal checkpoints, the Texans are, and taking them over and deciding who comes in, who comes out. Everybody agrees these are illegal crossings. I mean, everybody agrees with that. And really the only question is, does Texas, and the feds aren't questioning Texas's right to put the razor wire up. They haven't sued Texas. They are not suing Texas saying, quit putting that wire up. They're just going in there and cutting it down. So I like Tennessee's chances against the NCAA, and I like the Texas chances against the feds.
Man, oh man, it's like Jay's done this before. He leads us right into the next conversation, and we have to take a quick time out before we get into that. Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti not only joined 26 other states in a letter to the Biden administration supporting Texas border defense, but he has also joined the state of Virginia in filing a lawsuit against the NCAA. We'll ask Jay where he thinks that goes next. Plus, your questions. Line them up, 615-737-9986. It's The Murphy Show on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 135. Matt Murphy and you.
It's cold
and
out
Sunny
there.
And it's cold out there. It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
It's that blizzard thing.
That blizzard thing. Well, here's the report. There's a great blizzard thing coming. You better get your booties. I said booties. That's right, Woodchuck Chuckers. It's Groundhog Day.
Let's do an ice sculpture.
Love that movie. Fun facts about Groundhog Day coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Also, I promised to pay off the FBI story regarding safety deposit boxes in the state of California. I promised to pay off. Have you seen this? Have you seen this doctor that came online today in celebration of Black History Month, telling all white males that we should give a portion of our paychecks to black females?
Yes, I did see that.
We'll share that with those who have not seen it.
I would respectfully decline to participate in that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't know what you make, but I got a feeling that, I mean, you could help like maybe a quarter of a black female.
You know what a goose is?
I do.
You know what a goose egg is?
I do.
There you go.
I do. I've seen it. I have a Ms. Beasley too, named her after the doll. Miss Ann, that's what we did. We named Mrs. Beasley after the doll as well. Jay St. Clair is with us to talk about this NCAA lawsuit and to take your questions and comments, and you may get them in here at 615-737-9986. So, Jay, the Tennessee Attorney General, Jonathan Skrmetti, joined the Virginia Attorney General, Jason Miyares, and I might be mispronouncing that, in filing an antitrust lawsuit with the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, arguing that the NCAA is violating federal antitrust law with its, quote, anti-competitive restrictions on the ability of current and future student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. Let's start here. Man, the world of college sports has changed since you and I were growing up. I mean, it's...
Well, I don't know if it's changed. It's maybe more transparent now.
Well, that's a good point. That's a
more
good point.
money's changing hands. That maybe now we're just hearing about it.
Maybe so. Maybe that's a fair point. Well, what do you make of this suit that Skrmetti's filing?
Well, let's look at it from 50,000 feet, and then we get down to the lawsuit. It's a mess, right? It's just a Supreme Court decision in this area a few years ago. And, it's just a matter of time, man. So much money's in college football. And at some point, somebody's going to say it's just not fair that the players aren't getting any of it, right? Because when you or I were in college, we could go get a job. Mm-hmm. And we could sell our name, image, or likeness. We might not get much for it, but we could sell it. But if you decide to play, a sport, you can't do that. And so something about that does seem a little unfair. So the Supreme Court kind of opened up the barn door. Now the NCAA doesn't know what to do about it. They've said, okay, athletes can receive income for their name, image, and likeness, but we don't know what the rules are. So we're just going to, I'll borrow a phrase that's in the case, that it'll just be like the Wild West for a few years. And that's the way it is. And some teams are, some people are winning, some people are losing, and some are retiring. And so here's the part I don't know. I want to know which came first.
Wait a minute, hold on. I just want the Nick Saban, comment to just mellow for a minute, because I don't know a lot smarter people than me, Jay, and a lot of people are smarter than you and I with regard to the sporting world, but I don't know of anybody that I've talked to that doesn't believe that if the system was the same as it was 5 or 6 years ago, that Nick Saban would have retired. I think he really is. I think he really did make that decision because he didn't like where all of this was going.
Right. No, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Yep.
And so I caught the reference. It took me just a second, but I got it.
Well, but your listeners are very,
Yeah. I thought at first you were going to say sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. Right. That's right.
No, some people are retiring. And so here's what I want to know: which came first? Did the NCAA get wind that Tennessee was going to file this lawsuit, or did Tennessee get wind that the NCAA was going to investigate? That's what I.
Well, I mean, Jay, I think that those two things, it was just coincidental, right?
Oh, the sheer coincidence of timing that both those things happened within 2 days of each other. No, and we may never know the sequence, but one of them came before the other, and the other party knew that it was coming. And I'm just curious about that. Where does the lawsuit go, man? I've told you that my crystal ball broke a long time ago. But if I had to guess, and you want me to, because that's what you're paying me to do. And Bell, don't tell me the check's in the mail. I've been hearing that for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
No, I use e-transfer.
I think it'll end either in one or two ways. I mean, here are the two most likely outcomes in my view, Matt. One is federal legislation that standardizes it nationwide, or two, a settlement in the lawsuit. I just don't think the NCAA wants this thing fought out in court, all in public, and then left in the hands of some federal judge or jury. I think they'd much rather get some legislative solution or some consensual solution between the member schools and the NCAA.
So, right, I mean, and it just feels like we're in a state of flux with all of this, because right now, if I understand the way that it works, and I think that I do, and this is the problem that Skermetti and Virginia and others claim that they have with the system, is that let's just use Tennessee. The Tennessee is not supposed to be involved in this collective.
Right.
They have no control over it.
Right.
And they can't talk to prospective student athletes about it because they don't have any control over it.
Yeah, it's not theirs. It's the rich uncle.
Right.
You can't talk about the rich uncle.
And so they can't help the student athlete base decision-making based on what they may or may not get from the NIL because they don't have any control over that.
Yeah, the school can, but the rich uncle can. Rich uncle can call him and talk to him all he wants to. So you would think, but as I'm reading, and I don't know this all the detail, but now what the NCAA is saying is, I want to know, these collectives are going to be deemed boosters under the old system.
Mm-hmm.
So the collectives can't do all of the stuff that boosters couldn't do.
So now they're saying the collective can't, on the side, call up the kid either.
That's apparently it's what they're saying. I hadn't read the lawsuit, but
see that's going to get us back to right where we were.
Well, that's why Tennessee sued them.
Well, we're not going back to where we were.
I got the number for that lady that talks funny from the Diamond Club.
Well, Jay, I promise you, the only thing Belle's working on right now is finding you that number. Genesis Diamonds. And I guarantee you, she will talk to you for as long as you want her to if you go buy a diamond from her. I know that she will.
Or for her.
Do you think she's from Arkansas?
I don't think.
That's not East Tennessee.
No. I mean, she might be from Shelby County, but I don't know. I don't know where she's from. All right, we're gonna get to a few other questions involving legal matters in just a moment with our good friend Jay St. Clair on the matter of the collectives versus NIL. Look, I don't know that I like necessarily where the world is going, but here is the way the world is going. That these collectives are becoming more and more powerful, and there needs to be some level of institutional control. The original point of NIL was to allow for young people to utilize the name and image and likeness that they have for their own personal gain or benefit. The idea was that if the local car dealership wanted to hook up with Matt Murphy, because Matt Murphy was a really good quarterback for the University of Tennessee, the local car dealership ought to be able to make that arrangement. But there was a working arrangement there where I either work at the car dealership or I'd at very least do advertising for them or whatever. Well, now it's become something very different. It's become a group of people putting money together for the express purpose of simply paying players to play football, which apparently that's where we are now. But there's no universal rules involved in any of this except that the collectives can't talk to the individual school systems, which seems odd. All right, so David, we'll get to your question in just a moment. If you have a question, by the way, I'm getting a lot of answers to Jay's question about where this woman's from. So we'll answer that collectively in just a moment, plus your calls and your questions on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, friends, Matt Murphy here, and I'm here to talk to you about making sure that you are safe in your home, making sure that you're safe in your business, making sure that you're safe with a safe from Nashville Safe House. I talked to Mark just the other day about the idea of trading in a safe, and he does this all the time, and he can do it with you as well. I talked to him about doing it for me, as a matter of fact. You trade one in, he gives you a price point on that safe, and you can apply it to your brand new, bigger safe. He does this all the time because nobody takes Mark and his advice. He will tell you, buy bigger than you think you need, especially if it's a gun safe. And I've walked through and I've seen customers there and I've seen him say it. Look, if you're thinking this will fit all of my guns, you might want to think about going a little bit bigger because it's going to save you a lot of time and energy, especially considering the moving of that safe. Now, speaking of moving, they have professional movers to move your safe. All of them are employed by Mark and the Safe House. They don't subcontract. They don't go on the street corner and get people that they don't know and allow those people in your house. There are some that do that, and that's not a good plan, folks. You're showing them where your valuables are. You're showing them where your safe is. You need to trust that the people that come into your home are known by the company that you're doing business with. And Mark can assure you he knows every single person that's going to be inside of your house, delivering professionally your safe from Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com and see the incredible brands. They've got all of them. They've got more selection than you can shake a stick at. They're right across the street from City Cemetery on 4th Avenue South. Stop by, say hello, and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House. 153 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Better grab your booties because it's cold out there today.
It's that blizzard thingy.
That blizzard thing. What is this, Miami Beach? Woodchuck Chuckers, it's Groundhog Day. 153, Jay St. Clair is with us, and we've got some questions for Jay, and we've got answers. I know he does. He likes to say, what do you say, Jay? You say often. What do you say?
I'm often wrong, but never in doubt.
I like that. I
got an answer for anything.
I think I have that tattooed on my left cheek. So David is in Hendersonville with a question for Jay. David, you're on the radio. What's up, my friend?
Not much. How you doing?
Doing well.
I've got Matt, you done an excellent job with Heidi.
Thank you very much.
You eat her alive. I loved it. She just did nothing but lie to people. But anyway, I called to talk to Jay, not you. I'm sorry, buddy.
All right, I'll get out of the way.
What's up, David?
Hey, Jay, my wife and I are redoing our kitchen, and we bought some cabinets from this big box store. Won't name the name. I think it's a big orange store. And they give me false information. My cabinet doors, they were supposed to have wood, solid wood in them.
Right.
I don't know if you know what MDF board is, but they're...
I know exactly what you're talking about. Look, have you tried taking them back? They ought to give you a refund.
They're custom cabinets. The paperwork they give me, the paperwork they give me said it was going to have solid wood in the door.
No, I tell you what you need to do. I'd go down there and I'd pitch a fit, and I believe you can get a refund from those people. They're in the business of making people happy, even though they're custom cabinets. You tell them that, look, I was told this is solid wood. You're selling me this, fiberboard stuff, and I'm not going to take it. Either that, or the other thing you might could do. I don't know if you don't want to settle for this, but you may get a big discount. They may cut the price in half. They may say, well, I'll tell you what, we're not going to take them back, but we'll knock it down 50%. I would go down there loaded for bear, bring your wife with you. If her name is not Karen, tell her when she gets there to introduce herself as Karen.
I would do that, but she doesn't, she's not a confrontational person.
I'll put on a wig and I'll go down there as your wife, David.
Matt, I tell you, Matt, if you did that,
your name today is Karen, and you go down there and act like it.
Have you been, David, real quick, because I'm limited on time. Have you been down there yet? Have you talked to him about it?
I have. I've talked to him, and the paperwork that they give me, it clearly states the doors will be made out of solid wood and manufactured materials. Well, they're saying, that's solid wood. That means that there was just solid wood in the manufactured materials.
Oh, jeez.
No. They're trying to...
David, you win that case. You go down there again, and you take Karen with you. And if you're not happy when y'all leave, you call me, and we're going to get this worked out.
David, here's what I'm going to do, David. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to put David back on hold. Get David's contact. I think I have it, but get David's contact because, David, go back down there, tell them that you want to be made right. Maybe, like you say, Jay, perhaps you're willing to take a settlement. Maybe he would be willing to take, 50%. 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing, I think do I have Jay on there? Yeah, there he is. Are you still there, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there he is. Okay, good. All right, so David, let us know how that turns out. Tina, real quick, we got you for like 2 or 3 minutes, but you're on with Jay St. Clair. What's on your mind? What's your question?
Hi, mine is a terminology question. I'm looking at a medication that was contaminated that I just found out about that my mother had taken. And they said the statute of limitations for claims on it is 2 years in Tennessee or a state of repose for 10 years. Can you explain what state of repose means?
Well, yeah, it's 2 years from date of discovery, right? Because if you don't know, it's 2 years once you find out you took something bad. 10 years from when it was manufactured. So
Okay. still be active then if she passed away in 2020, and the last time she took it was 2018. But I only found out in this past December.
Yeah, see, if you just now found out about it, that's when the clock starts ticking. I'd go see a lawyer about it. I mean, you can't sue about something you don't know.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Well, yes, I'm very sorry about that too, Tina, but thank you for the call, and I appreciate you. Real quick, ask Jay if we can legally declare a talk radio show host insane.
Yes.
That was quick.
Fact, if it's a true statement, truth is always a defense.
Man.
So if it's a true statement, yes, you can legally say that.
And multiple people, Jay, have alerted me to the fact that the woman in the advertisement says that she is from the Cayman Islands.
Jay's got a lot of bank accounts there.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Kazakhstan or Ukraine, but I think I like the Caymans better. I think it's time for us to take a diving trip, an investment seminar in the Cayman Islands.
Well, I am down. I am always your huckleberry, my friend. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, take care. There's Jay St. Clair. Good hour with Jay, 2 o'clock. We've got Representative Johnny Garrett coming up in mere moments. One more hour to go on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. They want to alleviate pain where you feel it on your body. And there was a time in chiropractic care where it was specific to spinal care, but that time is long gone. Dr. Gill has seen to it that they can help so much more than just your spine. They can help your elbows and your knees and your joints and your hips and even soft tissue ailments that are causing you pain. They do so with the most modern techniques like spinal decompression, red light therapy, the Class 5 laser system, and so much more. All available to you right here in Middle Tennessee and originated by the Dr. Gill Center. Let's go with the best. Let's go with Dr. Gill and his incredible team. Dr. Wendy is there, Dr. V, Dr. Dominic, and the rest of the crew. Over 100 years experience in this field, and they can alleviate your pain and get you right without having to pop pills, without the need for needles, and without the consideration for surgery. That's what it's all about. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill and the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. 615-882-4838. 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. You know, Bell, there's a reason that today is especially exciting, especially cold. But the big question on everyone's lips, on their chapped lips, do you think Phil is going to come out and see his shadow?
Actually, he did.
Puxatawny Phil.
Came out and saw his shadow.
That's right, Woodchuck Chuckers.
Another 100 years of perpetual war.
It's Groundhog Day. 615-737-9986. It is Groundhog Day. It's one of our favorite days. I was lazy. I'm not doing the full Groundhog Day today, and I apologize. We'll do it bigger and better than ever.
And I just want to
year.
say officially, so everybody knows this, I'm really disappointed in you because of this.
I know you are.
This would have been the 9th year that you've been doing it on your show?
Would have been either 9 or 10. I'll have to go back and
it's the first year we're missing it since you've moved here, and it was fun. It's great.
I could make excuses, but it would just be that excuse making. They're pretty good excuses, but it would be just excuses. All I can tell you is that I will double my efforts, and based on the results of the poll that's currently on my X Machine page, my formerly Twitter page, at Matt Murphy Show, you go, you vote, and if the Groundhog Day celebration wins, then we're going to bring it back better than ever. And I'm going to work, Bell K and I are going to work for the next year, because normally we have celebrities helping us out with this. We're going to work for the next year to get Dolly to be a part of it. There you go. And, we'll go down from there. In the meantime, Representative Johnny Garrett from Goodlettsville, Tennessee, joins us on the program to talk about some of the legislation he's got coming up in the General Assembly. Johnny, what is happening, my friend? How are you?
Not much. I'm just wondering if you've directed your listeners to see the Bill Murray movie Groundhog Day.
Well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. One of my faves. I mean, probably my top 20 at least. Johnny, I love the film. Love it.
Good flick. Good show. Good show.
Yeah. Oh, well, look, I appreciate you coming on. I hope I did not misidentify you earlier, but I think I did this from memory. You're House Majority Whip, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm the Republican whip.
How do you characterize? I mean, is that just vote counting? What do you do? What does the whip do?
I've got sort of several roles. Not only is it sort of kind of figure out what the legislation is, and any particular member to let leadership know, our speaker or our majority leader, on kind of where that's happening. I'm also in charge of our campaign committee, which is members that we are in charge of whatever races the caucus may be in for the general, and I'm also in charge of our fundraising committee for our caucus. So I kind of have 3 roles as the Republican whip. And I became the whip my freshman year, and I've been it ever since. And now I'm finishing up the last year of my 3rd term. So, and I've been whip ever since.
Well, you must be whipping them pretty good then, Johnny.
I don't know about that. I'll let others decide that.
Well, I called you today because of a specific piece of legislation. Before I get into that legislation, which I'm very excited to talk about, how do you feel the session's gone so far?
So far, so good. I mean, it's we got off to a slow start because of that snow, and even though we didn't extend the filing deadline, which I'm glad we did, I'm ready to get the people's work. We got to have the state of the state on Monday and hear some of the governor's initiatives. So I'm ready to get to work, and so far we've had a really good couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to the debate on really great legislation for Tennesseans. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and a lot of us excited to see some of the details regarding the possibility of a scholarship program, school choice program. I imagine you're among those that are excited about seeing something. I mean, as always with these things, devil's in the details. That should be coming out in the next week or so, right?
We should expect the language to hit, and I was kind of a person of choice, so to speak, when I went through high school, but my parents had the ability to pay for private institution, and I think everybody should have that ability. If you believe your school that you're zoned for may not be appropriate for you, what options do parents have? And they don't, because they're strapped down by their zip code. So I'm looking forward to those details and see what it looks like. I ran on this issue when I first ran for office in 2018, so I'm excited that we're expanding the program to put the power back in parents' purview, so they can be the driver of how their kids are educated. And as you know, Matt, I mean, in what industry, in what society is there one solution for all, right? So I hope that most of our Republican colleagues will get behind this, and maybe we might even see some bipartisan support out of this that realizes that there's just not one road to victory. There's several ways to get there, and I think this is one of them that can really help the kids of this state get a great education.
Well, remains to be seen. We'll follow up on that, obviously, with you and others. Now, we did have Senator Heidi Campbell on earlier today, and that conversation did not end well, Johnny. It actually ended with
shocking there.
It ended with me calling her a hypocrite and a liar and telling her to leave, and she did. So, and I don't use those terms lightly, but she was referring to legislation that she had never seen as a scam, and says that there are some within the Republican Party that are in on this scam. I don't understand what she's talking about, scam necessarily, on the people of the state of Tennessee, but, especially without seeing the legislation.
Well, that's the classic political hyperbole, right? Let's make a statement with nothing that can back it up. And I don't know what definition she thinks that providing parents with the power of choice, who are we scamming, right? I don't know if she had a great definition or a response of who is that scamming, but that seems to be a theme of some of our critics that just doesn't want to see progress and see our kids get the opportunity through their parents' choice to get a great education. That's a way to say it's not going to work without providing the explanation behind what exactly and who is being scammed.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's political hyperbole.
So, Representative Johnny Garrett with us to specifically talk about a piece of legislation that I learned about earlier in the week. And just to give a little bit of the backstory for those who perhaps don't remember or were not around, last General Assembly, we had a couple of members of the House of Representatives that acted out of turn, and they wouldn't stop acting outside of the rules that the members of the House of Representatives vote on every session to determine decorum and how they're going to act and the manner that they're going to comport themselves. And because of the repeated violations of the rules, a decision was made on the part of the body to vote as to whether or not to expel these members from the body. These members were Representative Gloria Johnson, Representative Justin Jones, Representative Justin Pearson. Ultimately, 2 of the 3 were expelled from the body. Now, the law currently says that the local communities that they serve, the local county commissions or whatnot, that they have the ability, the local municipality has the ability to appoint a temporary successor to the individual expelled until such time as there is a special election. So we all kind of know that backstory. We know that Justin Jones was appointed, Justin Pearson was appointed, and then they eventually won their special election. Johnny, you have a bill, I don't want to presume anything. Is this in relation to what happened last year, this bill?
It's in relation to the circumstances that led to reappointment, right? It has nothing to do with if you're elected back to the body, because I've read the Constitution, it's Article 2, Section 15, on what happens when there's a vacancy, and when in a vacancy, someone could be expelled, that seat is vacant. And so the language in that particular section is talking about a successor. And in me, it's crystal clear that you can't succeed yourself. There's even language in Section 15 of the Article 2 of the Tennessee Constitution that talks about the replaced legislator.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the language is clear to me that it's not talking about the person that was just expelled to be reappointed. So what this piece of legislation does is clarifies that and says that if you are expelled for disorderly conduct under the rules of the House and you are not eligible to be reappointed by your local body because the Constitution says you're not. And so that bill clarifies that provision to make sure that technically you can't succeed yourself. Now, it has nothing to do with an election. If they go through a special election or the normal election, depending on the time frame of the expulsion, they can certainly return if their constituents reelect them. But it just deals with an appointment, because I believe the language in the Constitution is clear that you can't succeed yourself.
I do too, and I'm appreciative of the fact that you're offering something to clarify it, because I would expect that if you tried to challenge that, it would get bogged down in court. Was there a consideration? I mean, was there any conversation to your knowledge about challenging the possibility that, for example, a Justin Jones last session could, quote, succeed himself? Because I agree with your reading of the language, that the founding fathers of the state of Tennessee, as they write this, did not intend for the same guy that you just expelled from the body to get reappointed back to the body. That's not punitive at all. Your legislation, I think, would clarify this and would offer a little punishment as to those who would willingly violate repeatedly the rules of the House of Representatives.
That's right. Otherwise, what would be the point of that particular provision that says as an expulsion you have to appoint somebody else?
Sure.
Right? What would be the point of that?
Right.
And so, and yes, this was discussed, and there was some pushback because I don't believe this has ever happened. I don't believe someone is either retired. Let's say someone resigns and says, I'm just done. I've got to go do something else. This is not fitting. And they resign. Well, what if they have buyer's remorse, so to speak? Say, well, I want to go back. And then they go to their county commission or their city council and say, I want to be reappointed. I think that's inappropriate under this particular piece of legislation as well, is that if you even resign, the language in the Constitution says, well, you can't be reappointed because you can't succeed yourself. So there was some discussion on that. It's just never been challenged. Someone would have to be expelled and then reappointed, and then that person either not be seated or a lawsuit be filed to challenge the language under Section 15 and Article 2 of the Tennessee Constitution. And we, at the time, the fact that this has never happened, no city council or county government has reappointed someone that was just expelled for disorderly behavior back to the legislature in a purely symbolic political manner, right? And so this will provide guidance, I think, for everyone and clarity on if you are expelled from the House of Representatives or the Senate, no governing body can reappoint the same person back to the same body.
So I can anticipate some of the arguments on the other side. And, I won't even lower our discussion to talk because I'm sure somebody will throw racism and all of that on the table because the Justin of the world, that's what he's going to do. But they'll say, well, Johnny Garrett's being punitive. You're being mean-spirited and you're trying to lash back out at these guys from last year because you didn't get what you wanted, which was them removed from the body. How do you respond to that?
Oh, I think that would be ludicrous, right? Because what happened in the past is what happened in the past, right? I've said this many times, you are in control of how you act under this body. There are rules in place that apply to everyone, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic, whether you are any type of race, gender, or whatever the case may be, right? There's no rules for thee and no rules for them. It is the same rules for everyone that we have to act, that our constituents expect us to act down there to provide some form of order and some form of decorum. And when we have folks that just are down there only to disrupt, well, we've got to have guardrails around those rules and clear intentions of what the consequences are of those rules. And so that's why I want to bring this particular legislation, is to clarify that actions have consequences for everyone. That's what we teach our kids, right? You break the rules, there are consequences to those rules. We seem to have some folks that believe the rules don't apply to them.
Speaking of the rules, I wanted to ask you a couple of other questions about some of the functional things that we've seen going down in this session. One, the aforementioned Mr. Jones, as is his right as a representative, got on the schedule to present a constituent to offer the opening prayer. He did so, no problems there. He chose not to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's got a lot of folks scratching their head. I've not heard anyone suggest that he should be forced to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm just amazed that there's someone who operates within the system and within the House of Representatives who wouldn't want to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Were you there? Did you see any of that? And what were your thoughts?
I was there, and I don't know if you could take my mouth off the bottom of the floor, even from Representative Jones' actions not to recite the pledge. Right. I mean, he spit in the face of our veterans. He spit in the face of all Americans. And I don't understand. I understand someone that claims they love America but hate Americans. I don't understand that. And that's what he displayed yesterday by not reciting the pledge. Is just an act of dishonesty on the entire body and all Tennesseans and all Americans that have served this country, that gives him the reason why we do what we do. So I didn't understand it, that he did not want to recite that pledge because it is something. It's a symbol of our country. It's the flag of our country. It's something that is revered. It's something that people died for. It's something that people still suffer from. Families that had a veteran that have died for that freedom, for the symbol of what that flag instills in us all.
Well,
so that was just something that was a little bit disappointing to see on the
I mean,
House
obviously.
of,
I mean, but you know, my takeaway, and I think most Tennesseans who observe this, and I know you're really close to the forest, so sometimes it's hard to back up to see the trees, but most Tennesseans look at this as parlor tricks. And to me, as the serious people who are trying to do the serious work for the state of Tennessee and for its citizens are about their business, there are some in that body that just engage in parlor tricks, and they try to get you guys distracted. And I would say, and I'm not here to butter your bread, Johnny, but I would say kudos to those of you who did not take the bait and get distracted on it, whether it's the Pledge of Allegiance or this pastor from earlier in the week who was transgender. I think they were trying to bait you guys into reacting. You didn't.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that you did not, because that's giving them what they want, which is the dog and pony sideshow that they so desire.
Look, nothing's going to distract us, in my humble opinion, from doing the work the people sent us to do. And that's all that has been happening with some of these folks, at least on the House side, is just to elevate themselves. And there was nothing more than yesterday's stunt that proved everything we've been saying about what they're trying to do and what they're trying to represent. They're doing nothing for their districts. They're doing nothing to come to any table, whether it's a Republican table or a Democratic table. Believe me, the Democratic side, they're not happy with what happened yesterday. And because they see that was a stunt, that it was antics, and it's proved everything that we've said, that they're not there to do anything but lift their own images up.
And isn't Representative Camper, she's the minority leader, right?
Yes.
And good for her. Good for her. Kudos for her, because she stood up and it's my understanding she led the pledge, didn't she?
She did, and I have great respect for Leader Camper. She sits right in front of me on the floor. We have a great relationship. In fact, my daughter absolutely loves seeing her when she comes down to the Capitol. So we have a great relationship with Leader Camper. She does a great job. I mean, they're probably not going to like me saying that, right? But I mean, but it's the truth. We go down there and we want to have relationships with everybody, and unfortunately, some just don't. They're in it for themselves.
Well, that's right. Well, look, thank you for everything you do. I appreciate the bill. We'll continue having you on throughout the course of the session, asking questions, getting answers regarding legislation moving through the body, and I appreciate you, Johnny. Take good care. Hold down Goodlettsville over there.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. There's Johnny Garrett, who is the House Majority Whip, the Republican Party Whip in the House of Representatives for the Tennessee General Assembly. We've lost one of the good ones, Belle. Have you seen this? Yeah, we've lost one of the good ones.
What are you talking about?
Well, we had a celebrity death today during the show. Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to make you wait for it. It's 2:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today. It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach? Not hardly. And you can expect hazardous travel later today with that, that blizzard thing.
That blizzard thing, the blizzard thing. Oh, well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Well, yes, they are. But, there's another reason why today is especially exciting.
Especially cold.
Especially cold. Okay. But the big question on everybody's lips.
On their chapped lips.
On their chapped lips, right. Do you think Phil is going to come out and see his shadow?
Puxatawny Phil.
That's right. One time, Chuckers. It's
Groundhog Day! I actually had an ad pop up right when I was supposed to start talking.
I had your back. I just did your line.
This is like perfect timing, though.
Just did your line for you. That's no big deal. This is sad. And, one of the reasons that we like entertainment figures is because we feel like we know them. I gave this speech after the Tiger Woods debacle that came out in, 2009, 2010, whenever it was, when it was
when
discovered.
He broke his leg or when his wife left him?
No, that's when his wife left him.
Oh, okay.
When she beat him up and used a 9-iron on his car because she found out that he was cheating on her with multiple women across the country.
Stars.
Yes. And I said then, and I'll say it now, that we don't know our entertainment figures. We feel like we do, and it's part of the reasons that we connect with them. I never judged a Tiger Woods based on his fidelity or his infidelity. I judged Tiger Woods based on what I saw on the golf course. It was pretty amazing. I don't pretend that I know Tiger Woods. I just think differently than a lot of people. However, some in the entertainment field crack through that veneer. And this guy that I'm about to tell you about is one of them. You feel like this is a nice guy. You feel like you could sit down with him and have a beer, have dinner, and he would be don't you feel like that Carl
absolutely.
That he would be the nicest person on the face of the earth? I'm sad to report that Carl Weathers has passed away. He was 76 years old. If that name does not ring a bell immediately to you, I would suggest that these will. Apollo Creed, the Rocky franchise, Predator, Happy Gilmore, Arrested Development, the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Carl Weathers has passed away at the age of 76.
Yeah, he had after the Rocky stuff, he had like kind of a big lull in his career, and then all of a sudden just went on this regrowth where he came back and was bigger than he ever was.
Yeah, I mean, he did Predator on the heels of Rocky, and which was interesting because he was a bridge between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, and those two people hated each other.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely hated each other in the 1980s. They've since repaired that, but Carl Weathers became a bridge between Rocky or Stallone and Schwarzenegger. But he was in Predator for a hot minute, and then obviously he did take that kind of. There was a little bit of a lull there. I mean, I love him in Happy Gilmore. Thought he's fat. What was his name? Was it Chubbs? I think that's right. He was Chubbs in Happy Gilmore, I believe. Lost his hand to the alligator. But anyway, we've lost Carl Weathers at the age of 76. And let me promise you this. When I was 30, 76 seemed old.
If you saw him in The Mandalorian, though, you would never guess he was that old. Late 50s.
He doesn't look that old. He no.
He was still in really good shape.
And no word as of yet on, what caught him at the age of 76. I mean, I guess one can still die of old age at that age, even in the modern era. But he just got finished. Brent notes this, that you're going to see him. Oh, my goodness. I didn't think about this. This is going to be very, very sad. You know those Gronk commercials where Gronk did the kick of destiny last year, where he was going to try to kick a field goal live on national television? And
talking about the Gronk, the football player?
Yeah, Gronkowski.
Okay, yeah, it's a little...
right. Okay. So he was going to kick a field goal, and he was doing it live, and they were promoting FanDuel and yada, yada, yada. Well, he's doing that again. It's called Kick of Destiny 2, and guess who his coach was?
Carl
Weathers. And so we're about to see him in a series of commercials over the next couple of weeks involving Gronk, and he's training. He's his coach, kind of like happy
Do we
he
know
wasn't.
if they bought time on the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean that's what it's about.
It is,
I mean
okay.
it will culminate. I would be willing to bet you, based on the preliminary commercials that we've seen, because it's like Gronk's out in the wilderness, his hair's all long. He's like, I missed it. I can't believe I missed, because he missed last year. I can't believe I missed. I can't believe I missed. And this guy pulls up on a motorcycle with a sidecar and said, you've got to get back in the game, kid. Get in the game. Come on, get in here. And so it's Carl Weathers. And so he jumps in, and they ride off into the sunset. And I've seen one other where they're training. He's like, come on, let's see that kick. Let's do it. I bet you that Carl Weathers was supposed to be there live when he does it live. And obviously he will not, as he has passed away at the age of 76. That's kind of sad. 231-615-737-9986. I promised to pay off the FBI story. I promised that we've got we're going to have some fun in the last half hour. Several of you are asking, what about Friday Mac Attack? Look, I know it's one of the favorite segments that we do on the Matt Murphy Show, but
Got to have a Mac.
you got to have a
Want
Mac
attack.
You can't, you got to have a Mac to have a Mac Attack. And nobody wants to see Friday Bell Attack. Nobody. Least of all Bell.
I don't know. Maybe.
232 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, this weekend, if you're out and about, perhaps you're down Franklin Way, or maybe you're over at L&L Market on Charlotte Pike or nearabouts, why not stop into Savory Spice and see what they've got cooking this weekend? You could have some deliciousness cooking in your kitchen this weekend if you stop by Savory Spice. Whether it's restocking with the staples, the salts and the various spices that everyone needs in their kitchen, or perhaps you're looking for some unique spice that you cannot find anywhere else. I promise you, they either have it at Savory Spice or they can get it at Savory Spice. But odds are they've got it right there. Savory Spice is proving time and time again they don't have to be more expensive to be the best in the spice game, freshest of the fresh, and obviously they have something for every level of expertise. And if you think about it, there are a lot different levels of expertise that walk through the doors at Savory Spice, right? Literally chefs walk in to buy items at Savory Spice in the Franklin location just off the square and in L&L Market. And then people that walk in and say, look, I've never cooked in my life, but I want to learn how. What do I need? What do I need to start with? They can help you as well. They've got recipes and recipe suggestions. They've got different spice blends. They've got something for you. At the one and only Savory Spice, I like to say you up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. Once again, 2 locations, L&L Market in Nashville, in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice. Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
Not hardly. I mean, well, you expect hazardous travel later today with that, that blizzard thing.
That blizzard thing. Oh, well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Yes, they are. But, there's another reason why why today is especially exciting.
Especially cold.
Not especially cold, but the big question on everybody's lips.
On their chap lips.
On their chap lips, of course. Do you think Phil's going to come out and see his shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil.
That's not what Chuck Chucker says.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I'm into it. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. It's 2:37, almost 2:38 on Super Talk. We mentioned that Darius Ruckers had a hard go of it. I made fun of this on social media, and a bunch of Karens and Darrens on social media got all mad at me because you don't know what you're talking about. And it turns out my prediction was correct. So I saw the story last night that Darius Rucker, and by the way, nobody got hurt. It's a misdemeanor charge. It ain't that, in the grand scheme of things, that big of a deal. But rules are rules and laws are laws. Former country music star, strike that, reverse it. Current country music star and former member of Hootie and the Blowfish.
No, he's still in them.
Is he?
Yes. They just went on a tour.
Oh, did he? They're still doing the Hootie? Remember what I said in the first hour?
They're still hooting.
Remember what I said? Well, we were in college. Oh, man, who let a Hootie? I don't know why we were so down on Hootie and the Blow. We were. Did you like?
Yeah,
because we were trying to be cool.
Absolutely. But when something gets that big, you got to trash it. That's just the way it works.
I think that's exactly what we were doing. It's like my buddy loved my best friend in the world loved REM. Loved REM.
Until they got huge.
Until they got big. And then you know what happened? You know what he said?
What?
They sold out.
Sold out, man.
They sold out, man. I was like, wait a minute. You love Murmur, but you hate Automatic for the People.
They've really changed nothing and just continue to make the music they like. And everybody gravitated towards them, but they sold out.
Now, my boy Wayne did a little of this, but our mutual friend Chris Joyner did a lot of this, where They Might Be Giants was another one. Chris Joyner, my good friend, who's now an author and works for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, so he's a liberal, but he was all about some They Might Be Giants. And he introduced me to They Might Be Giants. And I fell in love with They Might Be Giants. And a bunch of other people fell in love with They Might Be Giants. And then he hated They Might Be Giants. It was like, wait a minute. You have this special, intimate love and knowledge of this special thing, and you share it with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world says, yes, you're right. And then you immediately hate it.
And it's the band's fault.
Anyway, I don't know why we hated Hootie, but we did. So much so that we called Pooting throwing a Hootie. Hootie the Blowfish and country music star Darius Rucker was booked into a Williamson County jail on a misdemeanor drug possession charge, according to a spokesperson for the Williamson County Sheriff's Office. Now, so I saw this story, and I flippantly threw out on social media, on my social media platform, at Matt Murphy Show on the X Machine, come on, Franklin. You gonna bust a dude for a little weed? Two things. One, everybody started getting mad at me because they said it wasn't Franklin, it was Williamson County, and those are two different things. It turns out it was Franklin, by the way. I didn't know and I didn't care. I was just I was macking on Franklin because I wanted to. Secondarily, we still don't know that it was weed. We just assumed that it was weed. The musician was charged with 2 counts of simple possession and casual exchange. What does that mean?
Means he wasn't selling it. It's like, here, man, you want a joint? Versus, hey, you think $800 for this brick.
You know what I would like to believe?
What?
I'd like to believe that Darius Rucker was down in Franklin, enjoying himself. Maybe he's over at 55 South having a drink or something, or over there at Puckett's or whatever, Cork and Cow or whatever that's called. And he's out. And look, I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not casting aspersions either way, but he fires one up. And then he sees a brother standing near him, and he says, hey, you want a little of this? I want to believe that Darius was offering to a cop.
Wow.
That would be the casual exchange portion of the charges against him, which would be pretty stupid, but okay. Rucker was released after posting $10,500 in bond. Man.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. Somebody in New York City who just
assaulted police officers.
And just let them go. Somebody in New York City needs to call Franklin, Tennessee and figure out how they're doing it down in Franklin.
10,000.
That's
just stupid. $200 and let the guy out.
I mean, yeah, Sally writes in exactly what I want to believe. It was Hootie on a doobie, and, you know, maybe Hootie was worried about his glaucoma. Or, you know, I mean, the wacky tobacco can be good for the sciatica. And Hootie comes from, how old do you think Hootie is?
Oh, he's got to be, I think he's probably 52, 53 by now, maybe a little bit older.
But, I mean, I think Hootie's from our generation, man. Puff, puff, pass. Puff, puff, pass.
People are just, was he driving?
I think they would have charged him with DUI if he was driving.
I was going to say, yeah. As long as he wasn't driving, who cares?
I do not.
As long as he wasn't giving it to kids.
Well, the fascinating thing is, so I threw this out on social media because I do not care. And I especially don't care if he was not putting anybody else in harm's way. This to me, and y'all can tell me that I'm a part of the damnation of the United States of America till the cows come home. But I do not care. It is akin to me. It is the same thing as somebody walking down the street smoking a cigarette. Just don't get behind the wheel of a car, friend. Don't endanger other people. And, you know, maybe do it in less populated areas so I don't have to walk through the skunky smell.
Yeah, I hate that.
I mean, it's
bad.
Oh,
my God, it drives me nuts.
Yeah. Have you ever been driving down the highway?
You know, ever since they've decriminalized it, you be in a convenience store, for example, waiting in line, and somebody just has the odor just permeating the room. But I have driven down the highway before, yes.
And the only thing I can think is how pungent is the smell in your car that I can smell going 80 miles an hour. I can smell what's coming out of your car 100 feet away.
Yeah. And again, like you said, man, just don't give it to kids. Don't drive. Do whatever you want.
But I don't care.
But don't make me smell it. I hate the smell. It stinks.
No.
I'm not sitting around my house going, wow, I really wish I had a skunk in my backyard.
Nasty. But there's the Hootie story where Hootie's got to answer these charges. $10,500 bond he had to post for a misdemeanor count of simple possession and casual exchange. One count of violation of registration law following an arrest. I don't understand what that means.
Registration of what?
It says the musician was charged with 2 counts of simple possession and casual exchange and 1 count of violation of registration law. Maybe he didn't register his doob.
Do you have a gun on him or something? No, they would have charged him. That would have been more. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a
bigger deal. Don't know. We'll get the details and we'll be able to relate those details. Once again, I hear you. It was for Hootie's glaucoma. I got you. 246 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What was I promising to do that I haven't done? You're supposed to follow these things.
FBI and the safe deposit boxes.
The FBI is an awful organization that needs to be disbanded and built back from the ground up. I've been on this story for, I don't know, the 2 years I've been here, certainly, and well beyond. Sadly, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has lost its way. The head has corrupted the tail.
Hey, I apologize for interrupting, but just real quickly.
Yes.
Jay Harper is back there. He said Hootie had expired tags, which means he was driving.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, back to the FBI story.
Yeah, but apparently he wasn't inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence enough to charge him with that.
Maybe they thought he was cutting him.
Maybe they were.
But anyway,
whatever.
The FBI is a horrible organization.
FBI is a horrible organization that needs to be built back from the ground up. Obviously, most rational, sane people understand that we need an organization that does a few of the things that the FBI does. You could farm out a lot of what they do. But sadly, they believe themselves extracurricular to the Constitution of the United States. They think that they are extra constitutional with regard to their authority to engage in some of this nonsensical and illegal activity that they've been doing. And so out there in California, they just busted up into people's safety deposit box, collected their stuff, and just thought that they could get away with it. And they couldn't, and they've been struck down. And we need to go further by dismantling and rebuilding the organization. And yes, going so far as to rebrand the organization.
Just to give a little context, this was in like a, for lack of a better description, like a UPS store. It wasn't a bank. They weren't bank safety deposits.
Right.
And they had a warrant to go in because they thought a lot of drug business was being done through this place. But it specifically said in the warrant, the contents that you do not believe are related to illegal activity are to be recorded and returned to the owners. And then the FBI just went, we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do any of that. And you can't do that. The Constitution matters. In the meantime, I would note that just moments ago, some 10, 15 minutes ago, I don't know exactly when, the United States of America has begun retaliatory airstrikes in Syria. This we would be led to believe is in direct retaliation to the death of 3 American soldiers at the hands of ultimately the Iranians through proxies. Iranian proxies and affiliates in the Middle East are now under attack based on what we're seeing coming out of the United States and the Pentagon. We'll have more on that for you in a moment, and I'm certain that Brian Wilson will cover all of those headlines for you all afternoon long. We'll check in with Brian in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy's time is coming to a close, but Brian Wilson is here to carry us forward with explosions being reported in Syria right now. I don't know. I mean, I understand that there needs to be some sort of retaliation, but it seems like anytime anybody around the world does anything to us, the United States of America decides to bomb Syria. Maybe that's just me. Brian Wilson, what do you got? I'm sure you're watching these retaliatory strikes after 3 U.S. troops were killed in that drone attack in Jordan.
Yeah, definitely looking at that. You know, and it did occur to me that this is happening on the same day that we're watching the dignified transfer of the 3 soldiers that were killed in the drone attack. So the timing is sort of it is sort of interesting, but yeah, and it's happening, and it takes a while to sort of sort all that out and percolate till we get some real accurate information. But apparently, the retaliatory strikes against Iranian proxies and Iranian affiliates in the region who were thought to be responsible for some of these attacks are now underway.
You know, and it's one thing for you and I back here in the comfort of the state of Tennessee in our own homes, Watertown and Mount Juliet, respectively, to opine on it. But on some level, Brian, anytime something like this happens, I'm a little on pins and needles because what happens next really depends on how the Middle East reacts to what we're doing. And if they reacted in a manner that we don't care for, this thing could escalate pretty quickly.
Listen, I'm very worried about what's going on in that region right now. We got more ships than you can count out there in the various bodies of water in the region, and we've got all these U.S. installations inside Iraq and inside Syria and other places, and there can be a misunderstanding. And by the way, just yesterday, there was an attack against a U.S. cruiser, I believe, a missile cruiser, I believe it was, and the missile came within a mile of the ship. They were able to stop it with sort of their last line of defense, something called a Sea Whiz, which is a close-in gun, and that they were able to stop it. But, I mean, if one of those missiles hits a U.S. ship, it's going to be a very bad day for the U.S. Navy and for America.
In addition to this subject and others, are we going to do a little Phone Your Farb Friday today there, bro?
Yeah, you can count on that. I've got a great story. Actually, Channel 4 did some really good investigative reporting about response times for the Nashville Police Department. And Chief Investigative Reporter Jeremy Finley will join me in the 3 o'clock hour to talk about that. I think that the people of Nashville deserve better than what they're getting from their police department, and we'll discuss what's going on there.
Love it. Brian Wilson in the Drive on the way next, just after Jay Harper delivers some news headlines, and that's coming up right now. Have a wonderful weekend, folks. Hug your loved ones. We'll talk to you Monday afternoon at high noon. Until then, so long.